Georgetown. How's everyone doing this afternoon? Oh, okay, that's pretty good. My name is Anna Marie Tendler, and I'm an artist, and I'm very happy to be here speaking with you today. I don't have any slides to show you, so I'm just going to talk. And I know it's the end of the day, and most of you have been sitting here for a long time, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Probably not sweet, but I promise it won't be too long. The theme of today's conference is Renaissance and Renewal, so I will attempt to speak on that topic. I am also an artist, and I am a woman, and I have a lot of thoughts about being both an artist and a woman who is an artist. So I guarantee I will speak on those topics as well. Up top, I want to mention that I will be using the term woman and women many, many times during this, and when I do so, I am referring to all those who are female identifying, regardless of biological sex. Renaissance and renewal are words of hope. They signify a rebirth, a renewal, a revival. They suggest newness, or even the psychic levity that succeeds transformation. But for me, as an artist, it's what comes before the rebirth that's worth digging into. A period not marked by hope, but instead pregnant with loss and with change and melancholy. This is the antithesis of hope. It's grief. And historically speaking, after all, it was the Dark Ages that preceded the Renaissance. Ever since I was a child, I have been well acquainted with grief and darkness in some inexplicable way. I felt deeply attuned to and drawn to the macabre. I loved witches and magic. I longed to live in a Victorian dollhouse with cobwebbed attics. I played with Ouija boards. I read up on spells and magical herbalism. I felt empathically for animals that were hurt or dying. That said, I also felt the implicit importance to keep this side of myself hidden. It's rare that a woman is encouraged to meet her shadow self. As young girls and ladies, we're taught to be light and bright, to smile often, to rebuke sadness in favor of gaiety and patience. Subconsciously, we learn we must identify with Snow White, not the evil queen, Sleeping Beauty, and not the witch. The insidious message here is that the dark side of femininity is inherently bad, or at the very least, it's unwelcome. Fairy tales are instructional stories of female morality, and these stories came from an oral tradition that was written down by men. They reflect men's inability to tolerate the same emotion from women that they are not only free to express, but encouraged to do so. Anger, jealousy, vanity, pain. Women must not admit to these sins. In order to prevail or to find love, we must keep these parts of ourselves hidden. And while the patriarchy is at the root of this phenomenon, it is so ingrained in our culture that women demand this of themselves as well, for fear of rejection or exile. So we adapt to obfuscate the parts of ourselves that don't neatly align into the borders of the good woman, one that is quiet, happy, and easy. We err on the side of caution and live in a state of constriction, careful not to make anyone uncomfortable by the shadows lurking inside of us. The state of constricted identity, often not chosen by us, but instead forced upon us by society, results in a two-dimensional hologram of a woman. She fits neatly into small spaces. She can be taken almost anywhere, but she is not whole. As an artist and as a woman, I know that I am not just one thing. I am a complex web. I am joyful and I am filled with pain. I can laugh with my mouth wide open, face to the sky, and I can cry heaving sobs that seem to never end. I am angry and I am patient, both cynical and hopeful. I am rage and I am grace. And trust me, you are all of these things too. Today, it is these qualities combined that make me an artist, and I call upon the many facets of my mind and heart daily to create. However, it was not always like this. Though privately, I have long been at home amongst the more haunted corners of my mind, I was frightened to lean into these areas in my public-facing work. I was afraid of outside judgment. I was afraid men wouldn't like me or my parents would be disturbed by me. I pushed away the less savory aspects of my subconscious to make myself more palatable for other people, mostly for men. I and my art suffered for it. I felt creatively blocked. I had trouble connecting to my work. I often started projects only to quickly abandon them. It wasn't until I became well acquainted with my shadow, with my grief and my pain, that I was unglued from stagnation. In January 2021, I embarked on a self-portrait project, now titled Rooms in the First House, that materialized in a wake of a severe mental health decline and a series of losses. I call it affectionately my meditation on grief and the female identity. Rendered in photograph, I set up carefully crafted scenes and placed myself inside of them. At first, I did this to remind myself that I truly existed, an exercise in reality, if you will. But soon I found I was using these photographs to explore a myriad of emotion that lay at the bottom of my deep internal well. As the project unfolded, so too did the wrapping of my emotional mind. I discovered that I was not all grief, not all anger, not all pain. I was also power and humor and the erotic. With each new photograph, I felt as though a new piece of myself became unfurled. I could throw every bit of trauma I'd accumulated during my 36 years into a photograph. No work was about just one thing. Each photograph then became a token or a memento to all the pain and all the grief, to all the power, to all the anger, and to all the joy that lived inside of me. As I have put my work out into the world, like paper lanterns made weightless by a small but steady flame, the things that hold me heavy to the floor float up and out into the ether. Personally, this journey came at a time of intense mental and emotional duress, which I acknowledge is like a cliche of an artist finding themselves. But I only tell you this because I wholeheartedly believe that total degradation is not necessary to truly know who you are and to see all facets of your psychic life and to embrace them. You can crack yourself open with care while avoiding rock bottom. No one should break you down in order for you to build yourself back up. Not a boss or a teacher or a parent or a partner, least of all yourself. What is necessary is personal awareness and the space to allow yourself to feel your emotions deeply, to avoid any instinct to stifle them, to become conscious and attuned. You can't worry about appearing too sensitive or seeming overly dramatic. You can't be afraid to cry in front of loved ones. You can't fear that people in your life won't accept this undone version of yourself. The ones who truly love you will be there to walk the path with you. Now, this is, of course, easier said than done. It takes real work and faith in yourself. It requires independence and also the ability to ask for help when you need it. Imperative is the skill to learn how to be alone, to sit with yourself without distraction, and to marinate in who you are, both the sweet and the unsavory. Trust me, it is hard, quite incredibly hard, but ultimately you will be better for it. This deep dive into your previously unexplored psyche might leave you feeling untethered and unmoored, but I promise you will find steady ground again, this time with a renewed sense of purpose, whatever that may be. It's all too common for women to become pigeonholed into a single narrative, both by ourselves and by others. How easy it is to describe a woman by one attribute, to say, she's sensitive, she's type A, she's crazy, she's intense, she's sad. But I urge you, do not attach to a single story about yourself. This is the death of personality and the death of creativity. You can be sad, but still laugh. You can struggle, but still experience joy. You can act rashly at times and still be a level-headed person. Women are dualistic, and we are never just one thing. I, for one, am an intricate puzzle that at times depicts a completed image and at others is marked by missing pieces that render an ambiguous picture. And that's okay. Furthermore, our desire to have the meaning of a woman's work over-explained only backs us into corners, both as artists and as spectators. Explanation tends not to be something we think men owe us, but we feel entitled to a woman's introspection. When we look for a woman's work to be spelled out for us, we do this because we desire to fit her into a clean narrative. But this is not how a woman lives, nor is it how she creates. The work I create from my own experiences is the product of processing and transforming. It becomes something entirely new, something that is a collaboration between me and inspiration. It is thus greater than the sum of its parts, and attempting to break these parts back down again to cobble together a tidy narrative disrespects the new creation. Let a woman create with all that is inside of her and ask not for explanation. This will result in self-censorship. Women who are creators come to understand that we will likely continue to be asked for explanation and to have our work overanalyzed, but we must resist the urge to let this affect our output. Do not self-center and do not be afraid. I have used my photo series, Rooms in the First House, to process grief and to reclaim an identity I fear I had lost, or perhaps one that I never knew. For me, art is regenerative and it is healing. Many of you in the audience likely don't identify as artists, but you don't have to be an artist with a capital A to reap the benefits of a creative practice. You don't even have to be good at art. Try collage, where the only prerequisite is knowing how to use scissors and glue. Finger paint. Do silly 5-minute sketches of your friends and then laugh together about how bad they are. Take photos on your phone. We're all walking around with very good cameras basically attached to us. Write a haiku about yourself, or if it's too difficult to turn the lens inward at first, write about your dog or your partner or something that takes your breath away. Take an art class as one of your electives. Pour your sadness, your rage, your pain, and your joy into these things and see what happens. Thank you.